So what was W.D. Gann's great discovery?
This could be useful.
Well, some people say it was astrology. But what did Gann say? Taken from the New York Herald magazine, January the 5th, 1919, page 15. W.D. Gann interview. An astronomer can predict to the minute when an eclipse is going to occur, but you would not consider him a prophet, would you? Of course not. He simply makes use of mathematics based on the known laws of the movements of the planets in their orbits. I have found in my research that the Chinese understood all these laws and computed the coming of eclipses thousands of years before the Egyptians or the Chaldeans. It is marvellous the knowledge that these ancients had. In making my predictions I use geometry and mathematics just as the astronomer does, based on immutable laws which I have discovered. There is nothing supernatural or weird about it. Some weeks ago I read an interesting article on the failure of astrologers in their predictions regarding the war. Now there is a great deal in the vibration of the planets, but to make accurate predictions the great law behind it all, which the ancients understood, but which they purposely refrained from putting in their books, as they wanted to keep the secret for themselves, must enter into the calculation. That is why astrology fails, for nothing can be accurate that is not based on mathematics, and so few astrologers are mathematicians.
Why did you do that?
So from Gann's own lips, what is he saying? Astronomy, or astrology? Two, supernatural, or mathematical? So what do both answers have in common?
Oh, I get it.
Maths. So there you have it. Gann's great discovery was the markets are mathematical.
All right, all right.
Which means they are not random. W.D. Gann interview. If we wish to avert failure in speculation, we must deal with the causes. Everything in existence is based on exact proportion and perfect relationship. There is no chance in nature, because mathematical principles of the highest order lie at the foundation of all things. Faraday said, "There is nothing in the universe but mathematical points of force." This is repeated in Mr. Gann's course Resistance Levels, in which he adds in the next paragraph, every stock makes a top or bottom at some exact mathematical point in proportion to some previous high or low level. There is a hidden order in the financial markets implied here. Do you believe this? Do you think it's important to believe this? Would it make a difference if you did believe this, or beyond believing if you knew it? That was a quote from Roman at the Gann study group. Ordo ab chao. Order out of chaos. Unfortunately, according to Wikipedia.org, Gann was a Freemason. Biography. Gann was born June 6, 1878 in Lufkin, Texas. His father was a cotton farmer. He started trading in 1902 when he was 24. He was believed to be a great student of the Bible, who believed that it was the greatest book ever written. He was also a 33-degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite Order, to which some have attributed his knowledge of ancient mathematics, though he was also known to have studied the ancient Greek and Egyptian cultures. So we could say he was into the mystery school teachings.
I'm going to sue the pants off you.
You don't have to sue me to get my pants off.
In particular, sacred geometry. Do you have an open mind? What is your answer? Let me guess.
I'll figure it out. I'm going to use all the power of my brain.
Yes. Are you sure? Esoteric. Intended or suitable for people generally, not only for some people. Or esoteric. Very unusual and understood or liked by only a small number of people, especially those with special knowledge. Remember your answer. Probably yes. The Earth is flat. Do you really have an open mind? It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. Mark Twain. A wise man changes his mind or has no change to mind. Sorry, I meant a fool, never. Remember, knowledge is power. and they don't share. Do they teach you what to think at school, or how to think?
Damn it! Oh, hell with this.
What does the G mean in Freemasonry? Is it God? Or maybe the Great Architect? Well, it depends on your degree. The Esoteric understanding. So why could 33 be G? 1 equals A, 2 equals B, 3 equals C, 4 equals D, 5 equals E, 6 equals F, 7 equals G, etc. 25 equals Y, 26 equals Z. Then 27 equals A, 28 equals B, 29 equals C, 30 equals D, 31 equals E, 32 equals F, and therefore 33 equals G.
This ritual is called crossing the desert. And now the final ordeal, the paddling of the swollen ass.
Oh, what was I laughing at now?
Do you have an open mind? Are you sure?
Don't!
The 3 stages of the truth. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as self-evident.
How do you do? How are you? All right? Good share.
Supply and demand. Is this how the markets work? Not if you control. The issue of debt. US dollars are just IOUs. And control the exchanges that set the prices. It's called the London Silver Fix for a reason. And settle the transaction in dollars and not the commodity. But how?
But how do you know about them?
Elementary, my dear Watson.
What? This is an outrage!
By computer, binary mathematics. Maxim of law. Let him who wishes to be deceived, be deceived.
You liar! Why would you make up a lie like that?
Should you read watch? The news. A few corporations own the media. If they want to buy, what will they say? Maybe sell. If they want to sell, can you guess? Maybe buy. JP Morgan finds to date a brief history. Misleading CDO investments, anti-competitive conduct, fine, bonds, 228 million. Foreclosure abuses, fine, mortgage misrepresentation, fine, foreclosure, 69.9 fine, 1.8 billion. Illegal credit card practices, fine, 389 million. The London Whale, fine, 920 million. The Freddie fines, 5.1 billion. Mortgage securities, the big one, misleading toxic mortgages, fine, 13 billion. Perhaps they would.
Oh, I get it!
Lie. Or you being brainwashed. Not me. I'm too clever.
Let's see, what's in the news today?
Mail online. New York schoolboy made 72 million trading stocks on his lunch breaks.
I've been waiting all my life to hear that.
Well, if a schoolboy can make that, imagine what I could make. You've just been brainwashed, even if it was true. The Guardian. High school senior admits tale of his 72 million stock trading fortune was a hoax. If you'd seen the follow-up article or not, the result is the same. Lies. Look closely at the two articles. Schoolboy becomes high school senior. So, as we talked about at the beginning, I believe that there is false information put out there on purpose such as people will get into things like the Elliott Wave theory and the Fibonacci series like I did. Sounds very convincing, although it is a load of rubbish. It's what they want you to believe, and so that you don't look at what's actually true. The same with astrology. They want you to believe that you can predict the future by looking at the stars and the zodiac you're in. The stars are just a clock. That's it. There is no hidden meaning in the whole thing. So they give you the wrong information and send you down blind alleys. And as we talked about at the beginning, Gann said that the markets were mathematical, and he should know because he was a high-level Freemason, and therefore he knew the plans that they were making. In other words, when he made predictions about the future, it's because he knew what they'd already planned. If certain dates work into the future, it's because they were planned to work on those particular dates. Okay, so I can't prove it, but that's what I believe. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at JP Morgan. Now, the most irrelevant thing about any chart is what it's called. Okay, it has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with what makes the markets go up and down. It has nothing to do with what's put in the news, because what's put in the news is to throw you off the scent. It has nothing to do with supply and demand, because they control the currency, they control the exchanges, they can make the market do whatever they want, and it's probably controlled by some very ingenious software. The problem is software basically has rules, and what we're looking for is the rules that they're using to make certain things work. Now everything works in its own unique way, and not only that, every new top or bottom will work in its own unique way, and I've talked about that in previous videos. So, is this mathematical, or is this random, or does it have something to do with fundamentals? So let's have a look. Now on this particular chart we have a major high that was made here, and we have a major that was in 2007, and then we have the major low that was made in 2009. So let's see, here we can see a pattern. Now this one is very difficult, and they're not always this difficult. However, I think it's a good example of showing you how it actually works. Now, to do this particular one with the knowledge that I have at the moment, I need that top to have been formed, I need that top to have been formed, and I need that top to be formed. But from those three tops being formed, I can then hopefully work out what might work into the future. Now you need to know what you're doing, because if you get the numbers I'm about to show you slightly wrong, you'll get completely the wrong results in the future, or you won't be able to see the pattern. Now the first rise in a percentage point of view that gives me a pattern, and this is where the skill comes in, and it's what I teach clients, is this number here. And I think you'll agree that the market stopped pretty much exactly at that number, and that number there is 221.42857142857%. Now if I get that number slightly wrong, let's say I decided it was 220%, which is incredibly close, I will not see the pattern into the future, and I will get it wrong and I will lose money. And that's the difference. That little bit is the difference between making money and not making money. If I put 222% in over the top of each other, but if I use that number, I won't see it into the future. Now the next top is made on this number, and again if I put in 370%, it's very close, but if I get it wrong, I'll get it wrong into the future. And the next top is made on this number, and from that hopefully we can predict the future. Now if we put the mouse over the top, it tells you what that number is as a fraction. So it's 31 divided by 14, and this one here is 26 divided by 7. So if you divide 26 by 7, you get 3.7142857, and that one there is 37 by 7. And at first sight it's very difficult to see any kind of pattern. So let's write those numbers down. So we've got 37 divided by 7. We've got 26 divided by 7. And we've got 31 divided by 14. Now if you look very closely at these numbers, can you see the same recurring number? 428571, 428571. In fact, you can see 71 is in that number there, 71428571. Yeah, 428571 here, 571428, 285714, 285714. So what's happening? Well, if you divide 1 by 7, you get this number, 0.1428571428571428557, and it goes on forever, and it's a recurring decimal. Now because it's got 7 and you're dividing by 7, there's always one less in it, so 1 2 3 4 5 6, then it starts again, 1 2 3 4 5 6, you get the same recurring number, then it starts again, 1 4 2. So if you can remember 142857, you can divide anything by 7 or 14 or 21. Anything divisible by 7 will be part of this number. Okay, and that's what we've got here, 28571. And if you look closely at this number here, it's got 14 in the second number, 2 7s, and that's why you've got that recurring number. 26 has got, you're dividing it by 7, and the same reason, and that one you're dividing by 7. But can we see a pattern based on what's worked there? Okay, because I need, in this particular case, which is a very hard one, basically I need that. Okay, so I can't see a pattern based on what we've got there. However, we could make the second number of those 2 7s the same as that first one, which is 14, by multiplying those numbers by 2. So 26 times 2 is 52, and 7 times 2 is 14. So a 52 divided by 14 is the same as a 26 divided by 7. Now we can do the same thing with this number here, and we're going to get 74 divided by 14. So what we've got now is the same number in the second column. Now we're looking for a pattern based on the first column. Now if you add 21 to if you take 52 away from 31, then it's 21. And from 74 to 52, if you take the 2 away from each other, it's 22. Well, that's interesting. 21, 22. So maybe by adding 23 to 74, we're going to get 97. And because the second number is 40 in all cases, then it's probably might be that. So in that column we're adding 23, so it's increasing by 1 each time. Okay, so 97 by 14, let's put that on the chart. And let's see where that is. So again, we can do that before it gets there. Now I'm not saying it's going to get there, I'm not saying it's going to be where the market tops out. I am not predicting anything because I'm not God and I can't predict anything. All I know from 30 years of research is the whole thing is a great big massive con. Okay, and if they're going to con us, we can use them conning us against them. So let's see where that next number is, and it's here. Okay, so as I said, it may get there, it may not get there. I have no idea. But what day will I know that it's got there? The day it gets there. And what day would I want to make the trade to go short in this particular case? If and when it gets there. So there's no advantage of me saying if it will get there. Will is one of the most dangerous words you can use, okay? Because will is a bit like saying there are 10,000 horses in a horse race and you say, I bet you this one will win. Okay? There's 10,000 horses, you've got one, and the bookie's got 10,000. Who's got the best chance of making money? The bookie. That's how the bookie makes money. You get one choice and he has every other option. Okay? So the word what we always use under all circumstances is if, and I'll watch it every day, and if it gets there, then I'll make a decision. But I don't just do it because it's got there. I then want to see what happens when it gets there. Okay? But it's worth watching based on what's happened in the past. And also what would encourage you is by looking at things that have happened in the past. So for instance, from this high it fell 71.42857142.857%. It's 5 divided by 7. 7's the second number, so you get the recurring number 428571428571. So this seems to like falling that number. Sorry, falling numbers divisible by 7. Okay, so let's see what happens when it gets to this one. So as I said, it might not get there, but if it does, it hasn't got there, it gets there. That's the trade. Now that line there's a week, so you know you'd look at a daily chart at the time and looking for some kind of weakness with a stop loss above that high, so that if you're wrong, you take the all important small loss. And it was the top. Now what's that got to do with anybody buying and selling anything? It hasn't, because it's a con. The whole thing's a con. It's all a lie, okay, made to look random when in fact there's nothing random about it whatsoever. Now that means that we can, for the future, put another level on, which it may or may not get to, which would be, in this case, we would add 24, which is one more than 23, to 97, which is 121. The second numbers seem to be 14, so we put 14 in. So in the software I can put in 121 divided by 14 and it will put the level on for me. And that's a level that I'm watching in the future. It may or may not get there, but I think you can see from that things aren't quite what you think they are, because they're not. Everything in your life is a complete and utter lie. Okay, even your name isn't your name. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube and look up My Straw Man and find out what your name in capital letters are that you get from the bank and the building society, etc. That's they've made you into a corporation, and that's what capitalisation actually is. But that's not what this video is about. Now this is the Australian ASX 200 index. Now remember, this is an index. It's made of 200 stocks, so those 200 stocks are all going up and down relative to each other. Therefore this should be incredibly, unbelievably random. Now what I think I do that's different from anybody else is I document these things before they happen, and these just have a nasty habit of coming true. Now if you go to my YouTube channel, which is Gary IDS, one of the sections in there is Advanced Gann and New Discoveries, and in there I've done 3 videos. One was in 2014, and then the next one was a follow-up in 2014, and the next one I did in 2015. So that's 4 years ago I started talking about these numbers that I'm about to show you. Okay, so when I did the first video, the market was about here, and in there I showed you with the benefit of hindsight this number here, this number here, and this number here. Now with what I've just shown you on the previous video on JP Morgan, you should be able to work out how I decided I was going to watch this one and I was going to watch this one. Now there's a thing in the Bible that says give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Okay, if you make an effort, you'll be able to work it out. If you don't make an effort, you won't. Okay, it's up to you. This is not easy. This is incredibly, unbelievably difficult. But because it's mathematical, at least you've got a fighting chance. Okay, so that was the last video. Sorry, that was the last percentage I put on the first video, which it hadn't reached when I did the video because the market looked like this, and also it hadn't got to this one. So let's see what happens. So I don't know if it's going to get to this level or not. It's just if it goes to that level. And it gets to the level, so this is a place to consider shorting the market, and that must be a couple of months before. I put that on a couple of months before it got there. In fact, I put it a long time before that because I told clients about it before. And what happens? The market comes down. It then goes up. It actually goes slightly higher, which we're going to look at in a second. But basically, it goes a bit higher, and then we have the big fall down. And then for the future, I was watching this one. And I did a follow-up video I just told you about when the market was here, talking about the top that was formed here. So go and watch that if you want to. The next level I will be watching is this one. And what happens is it gets to the level I was interested in, and it did slow down, and it broke it by a little bit, because remember these are weeks, each line represents 5 days, and that breaking it by a little bit is relevant for what we're going to do in the future. Now in the I think in the second video I put on the next level after this one, okay, and that would be this one. Okay, so again, make an effort, you'll work it out. So and the next one, if you look at the last video, you'll find I put the ones onto the into the future on. So the next one would be this one, and the next one would be this one. And I'm not sure if I put the next one. I think the last one I put on was 100, but the next one in the series, according to what I've just done, is going to be that one. Okay, so what happens when it gets to this one, which I'm doing without the benefit of hindsight? Well, I'll just cut that line when it gets broken. It gets to the level, but it breaks it by a little bit, and then it goes sideways. Now unfortunately, if these are weeks, remember, so unfortunately if something goes sideways on you like this, there's not really a lot you can do about it. And we're going to look at a trade I made recently on this, which has done pretty much the same thing, but eventually it had a big fall. And then I did the follow-up video, the third video, where that vertical line is, explaining that I got that top as well. So the next level to watch for the future is this one here. However, if you look closely, it broke this one by a bit. If you look at the daily chart, you'll find it broke that one by a little bit, and it did stop it for a day or two. And then this one also got broken by about the same amount. So what I told clients to do was to do the same numbers, but a little bit higher up from that low. Okay, so you see it's now lined up. I could probably make that slightly, just so it lines up. It's probably a bit too much. That'll do. Okay, so in other words, it tends to get broken by a bit. So I changed it to looking like that. Okay, so you can see that now gives us that top. That's a little bit better for the week. It stopped there and it gives me that top there. So the next one I was watching was this level here. Now this is now 2015. Okay, I don't know if it's going to get there or when it's going to get there. And again, I'd be doing other stuff, you know, trying to find bottoms and stuff, but I'm just trying to show you. Okay, and what happens when it gets to the next level? So it crosses the major high here, okay, and it gets to the level I'm interested in here, okay, and then what happens? It goes down. So that was in 2017. The first video I stuck on YouTube was in 2014. So what's that? 3-4 years later, it just happens to be where the next major top. There hasn't been any other major tops made since that one, when I did the last bit, the third of the videos. Yeah, so you can see it's all mathematical. You'd have to be blind not to see it, but it's just finding how they're doing it. Okay, and that's why I keep saying they, because this is a great massive conspiracy, or should I say a confederacy. Okay, because people don't like using conspiracy because you've been brainwashed not to like it. Okay, now I actually traded it when I got to this one 100%, which is actually one of Gann's major numbers anyway. It's 250%. If you watch the first video I did on YouTube, it's about 50%. Anyway, let's see what happens. It goes to the level. Now it breaks it by a little bit too much, and I wasn't going to do it because of that, but I ended up doing it, and I'll show you that in the daily chart in a minute. The problem is it went sideways, and it's gone sideways for about a month, which ain't great, but I'm still watching this level for the future. But let's have a look at this on the daily chart. See when I got in. Now this is the Australian index. Let's go with the training video of the 14th of Feb 2018, and as discussed in there, reintroducing a level I've put on in the past. If we do get a rally from after the recent fall, then I think this could be an important point to look for a top. If you want to pick up my chart, it'll be MS887 by GS. You can see that it broke my level by really too much. That should have put me off. Okay. Now I actually got into the market here where that circle is. Basically, when I woke up, you can still trade Australia on the British market, but it's closed in Australia when I'm spread betting. So I got into the market about here when it crossed the low of the previous day, and I put my stop loss above this high here, so I'll say it was there. Now I actually did the futures chart, so the prices are slightly different, yeah. So bear that in mind when I put the contract notes up in a minute to show that I actually did it and when I got out. Now if you follow this intraday and you're watching all the intraday prices, first of all this movement would fill the entire screen, and you'd see it going shooting up and shooting down, and there is no way that you'd ever be able to make a big profit. So stop loss was here. Let's put the trend indicator line on, which is what we use for moving stop losses. Like it was a bit different on the futures chart. Now we then come down in red for 2 days. We go up for a day, which goes to green. Then it's green the next day, and then it goes back down to red. So we've changed from green to red. So we form what's called a lower trend indicator line top. Now I didn't bother moving it there because I want to try and stay in a trade, so I just kept my stop loss at this level here. Then the market went up again, and I wasn't very happy because that looked to me at the time, without the benefit of hindsight, because remember you can see what's happened. I didn't have that luxury. So you know, if you're watching this day by day, okay, then you would see that. You'd see that it goes down on that day, it goes down the next day, so you're pretty happy. Yeah, then it goes up. Yeah. Now I don't think on the futures chart that high was higher than that one. Okay, that one was more up here somewhere, so they are different. And then it comes down. Okay, and I decided, because it was a triple top, and if you watch the previous one of the videos I've done, which is the secret to making money the WD Gann way, I tell you I don't like triple tops. Yeah, so at that stage I thought I'm going to reduce the amount of money that I can actually lose, so I moved it to here, and at this stage I wasn't very happy. I didn't think I was got it right. Okay, but I've reduced what I can lose because I got in here, but I'm still going to lose money. Okay, then the market has an inside day, then it goes up, and the next day it goes down. Can you see that we've formed a lower trend indicator line top because the line's gone from green to red? So that's a reason to move my stop loss, which I was very happy to do because I didn't want to be in it anymore really. So I moved my stop loss to there. Okay, and then the market goes up, and I got stop lossed out there. I got in here, I got out there, I made a very small loss. Okay, and I was pretty convinced that it was going to go up through on a fourth attempt, which is one of Gann's rules. However, the next day had an inside day, and then another inside day, and it went down today, or really in the morning. So I'm still watching it, but to be honest, the next level that I'll be watching is this one here, depending on these other lows to see if mathematically they're saying the same thing. But the point being, I put these lines on 4 years ago, yeah, and the market stops at the levels. So as I said, I don't think anybody else is showing you things without the benefits. They show you things with hindsight, they never show you without the benefit of hindsight. Now from Gann's biography we learnt the following. He was believed to be a great student of the Bible, who believed it was the greatest book ever written. The magic word. Jehovah by W.D. Gann.
You're living in a world of make-believe, with flowers and bells and leprechauns and magic frogs with funny little hats.
Now for most of my life I was an atheist. I was wrong. A wise man changes his mind, a fool never. US soybeans. The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun.
Has the whole world gone insane?
Maybe time to rethink. Taken from the webinar recorded 4 years ago, the 11th of August 2014. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a monthly chart. And I've got, now one of the things that you need with Gann is you need huge amounts of back data. And we've been collecting data, we've been around for 30 odd years, and we've been collecting data for a huge amount of time. I mean, you can see here that we go back, in this particular case, you know, we're going back to the 1950s. And the way to predict the future on something is to work out how it worked in the past, and the past can give you clues about the future. Now I started work at the beginning of the 1980s, so about 1980, 81, somewhere around about here. Now there was a massive boom in soybeans in the 1970s. Now I was a kid at the time, so you know, I'm using that information. I couldn't take advantage of it because I didn't know anything about Gann at the time, and I was too young, and obviously I had no money, of course. So let's take away from there minus 50%. Now when it got to 50%, this is a monthly chart. Each line represents the high and low for the month. When it got to 50%, it just went straight through. Okay. Now I'm just going to scroll forward a bit. Now notice how the software, which is I wrote myself, I can cut lines. What most software does is just put lines all over the place, and what your brain does is it kind of sees where something works and it ignores where it doesn't. So your brain probably sees it working there. It probably kind of sees it working here. It probably sees it working here. It might see it working here and here. But what it does, it ignores where it doesn't work, which is here, 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 and here. Yeah, so you've got to be very careful, and it's very important that you don't fit things in to see what you want to see. Okay. Now, how I worked out how this works is because of what the bottom was made here, which was made in 1999. And the actual low, and if you're good at maths you'll be able to work this out, but I won't tell you unless you're a client. So minus 68.42105. Now I just asked myself what that low was made on with the benefit of hindsight. Okay, and that there told me what the future, what number to use back here. So I'm using the past to predict the future. So up to this stage here I didn't really look at this. Let's go to this high here. Well, if I don't know what's working without the benefit of hindsight and in some strange way it's working, I'll just automatically take away Gann's most important percentage, 50. And it's pretty good. But remember, this is a monthly chart, and you can see it breaks through 50 by quite a lot. That is the difference between making money and losing money. Okay? Now, again, that was in the 1970s. I was probably about 13 years old, so, you know. But I asked myself what the actual low was actually made on, and the closest one I could get to it was minus 52.63157. Sorry, minus. Okay, and that number is based on that number. You can see I've not got the exact low. Okay. Then I went to this high here, and I took away the same figure. And you can see that basically it was made on the same percentage. Then I went to this high here, but it didn't fall, that number. So then I went to this high here, Okay, and it didn't fall 52 from that high, but this high here is very slightly higher than this high here. And when I went to this high here and took away the number, it didn't quite touch it, but you can see that it was 52.63157. Then I went to the next major high, which was here. Again, if I didn't know, I would take away 50. Now you can see here that 50 actually did work. Yeah, it did give you that low there, but the actual lowest point was actually made at 52.63157. So I started to get quite excited about 52.63157. From this high, it didn't fall that number. From the next one that did fall that number is here. If you take away that number, although it broke it by a bit, you can see how important that number has been. Now, I didn't know that back in 2000, okay, so I hadn't seen that. And again, I've learned a lot myself over time. You don't just, I'm getting better and better and better over time. Now, then there was another high that was made here, and I thought it can't work again, and I took away 52.6357, and you can see that it made a low at 52.6357. Now what's that got to do with people buying and selling soybeans? Absolutely nothing. Okay, the markets are completely and utterly mathematical. They always have been and they always will be. Yeah, but people want you to believe that it's all to do with what politicians say and what the crop report says. It's actually a lie, and that's really what Gann was saying. He was actually telling you that that's not how the markets move. I then went to this major high here, and I took away 52.63157, but if you didn't know what this, you would take away 50, and that little fall through would catch your stop loss, and you would lose money, and you'd look back at it and you go, you know, God's trying to get his own back at me. Okay, it's because you need, it's more difficult than Gann said. If you take away 52.63157, can you see that the exact low was made at 52.63157? So how does that help me in the future? Well, what would I take away from this high that we formed here? 52.63157. Now, I'm not saying it's going to get there. I'm saying the magical word, and if you've got a piece of paper, write it down, if it gets there. What you never ever say is will. Okay, that's stupid, that's clever. Now I hope what I just showed you on soybeans US is frankly unbelievable. I did the video in August of 2014 when the market actually looked like this, and I said I would be watching this level in the future if it ever got there. Again, if it gets there. It may never get there. I'm not God, I can't predict the future. But if it does, that would be a time to consider buying the market. And let's see what happens. So these are weekly prices, so we're talking about huge amounts of time. Remember, I'm looking for big movements. I'm looking for major changes in trend because I want to try and make big profits when I'm right and small losses when I'm wrong. And the best way to make small losses is if you get the turning points in markets, then you can have a close stop loss. That's all covered in my video, The Secret to Making Money, the WD Gann way. So, I'm waiting for it to get there. Now this is Soybeans US, and this is go with the training video of the 8th of the 10th 2014, and if you're going to pick up my chart, it will be CO 512 by GS, and as discussed in the video, I'm looking for a possible buy on it falling 52.63157% down from the major high, probably all-time high. Hasn't got there. Now if that happens to be the bottom, then I'll have missed it. Okay, I'll look at something else, but eventually it does actually get there, and that actually didn't quite touch it, but basically we've fallen to the level that we're interested in. We can have a very close stop loss below that level, and what made this difficult was because it went sideways until the real movement started. But you know, there's not a lot you can do about that. Sometimes they just go shooting up, sometimes they don't, but eventually it went shooting up. So predicted at least a year before the market ever got there. Now when it was about to hit the level, I told clients that there was a possibility that it was going to work at this number. which is not a number that I would normally use. So I'm going to make it a weak line or a lighter colour. And the reason is because of what had happened in the past. Now if we scroll backwards, there is one time where 57.14 hasn't worked. And if we do that number from this high, you can see in this case it didn't work, and it went through it. It just went straight through, so I don't particularly mind if that's the way it's not going to work. But it actually stopped at this number. Now the reason I said that might happen in the case I just showed you is because on the way down it stops at this number. So let's go forward. Strangely enough, from this high it also fell and stopped at that same number. So I said there is a chance that might work into the future. Also, it just happened to be, if you look at the very first video I put on YouTube, I said the importance of 50%, and you can see it just happens to be Gann's major number of 50%. Now when I did that signal and it started to go up, I couldn't see the future tops that were going to be formed, but future tops will give you future lows, and future bottoms will give you future highs, and when these get formed it helps you to confirm levels of interest. Now eventually this topped out here, so I would take away minus 50, which is off the bottom of the chart, because as we fall I'll be able to find patterns better as we get more tops and bottoms. That's the secret that you need to learn, which obviously I'll keep to clients. But minus 25% is half of 50, and it's mentioned in Gann's book 45 Years in Wall Street. The other number that he mentions is minus 33 and a third. Now you should be able to see that 33 and a third is at the same level as 50 from this high. It works at this number from the major high, and in the past that became an important number into the future. Anyway, it doesn't get to 25, it then starts to rise, and then it forms a new top here and then starts to come down. So I can also use that top to see if they coincide in the future. Now 50 is off the bottom of the chart, half of 50 is 25. Can you see how they're all coinciding at the same place? But everything works in its own unique way. You'll find items that never work on these numbers, and you've got to find out how they work. But that to me looked like a good place to consider buying into the future. So we're approaching 25%, which is half of 50. What happens? It goes up. Yeah. So we're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. Cut that line when it gets broken. And we get to this level again, but I wasn't particularly interested because I didn't have any percentages coinciding from these other tops saying that this might work again. And it worked. It had a massive rise in the day, and then it went down, and then it got to the level. So what is the trend? The trend is incredibly, unbelievably bearish. The people who control the media will be putting articles out there saying how incredibly bad soybeans are and how the crop's going to be really bad, where really they want to buy it cheap, and so they know what's going to happen. Let's see what happens. The market, as of today, has gone shooting up from that level, a level that worked out in late 2015. Okay, so everything works in its own way. I basically just touched the surface of things that I've discovered. This is way how can I put it? This is way over what Gann was talking about. Gann was talking about these things here, but all these other numbers, you wouldn't have the slightest idea what I'm talking about. So as I think Newton said, standing on the shoulders of giants, or if I've seen further, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants, should I say.
Well, 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 if it isn't Professor Know-It-All.
Oh, what was I laughing at now? Oh, yes, that crippled Irishman.